بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. My name is Yasin Dutton and I am a Senior Research Fellow at the Oxford Centre for Islamic Studies. I've been invited to give a talk to the East London Mosque, to your mosque, and the topic was left open. I felt the most important thing for the present day and age, I could say, is Zakat, and in particular Zakat and its local implementation, which is what I'm going to be concentrating on today, inshallah. As we all know, Zakat is one of the 5 pillars. Now this means it is automatically a key part of the deen. It is one of the bases of the house of Islam. But where people know about the prayer and they're used to it, they do it every day, inshallah, and they're used to fasting, they know what fasting entails, and if they go on Hajj, they know what Hajj is about, or they find out what they need to know at the time that they go on their journey. Zakat is something which is known about from a distance, but not really understood in a more detailed way. And the reason I say that is the question of distribution is essential to understanding Zakat and to implementing Zakat, in other words, to carrying out that pillar of the deen which Allah Ta'ala has imposed on us. So its importance, we could say, goes without saying. There are a number of places in the Quran where Allah Ta'ala connects Zakat with Salat, or Zakat with the prayer. For example, Aqimu Salata wa atu Zakat. Establish the prayer and pay the Zakat. And I think there's over 25 instances of where this collocation of Zakat and the prayer comes together. But like I said, we know about doing the prayer, we're aware of that, but we're not always so clear on Zakat. Rather, it's almost the other way around. It's a bit like we can't get someone else to do the prayer for us, but we think somehow that we have to get someone else to do the Zakat for us, which is what happens, of course, in England and pretty much all over the world nowadays, that people are giving their Zakat to, for what can I call them, institutions or agencies or some sort of group of people in order to deal with it for them. Now, from one point of view that might seem reasonable. If you had no other recourse, that might be reasonable. What I want to suggest is that we do have another recourse. We do have another way of carrying out this pillar, which in fact is much closer to the Sunnah and therefore much more preferred. But how are we dealing with its implementation at the moment? Now, I want to mention a number of statistics about the Muslim community in the UK. According to current statistics, 98% of Zakat collected in the UK is sent overseas. Now that, if you like, is the basic start point of what I want to talk about. We are sending the vast majority, 98% is nearly, how far away is it from 100%? Very, very close indeed. So we are sending 98% of our Zakat overseas. And this is not really how it should be done, as I will explain. Because at the same time, there is a clear need for Zakat here in the UK. Point number 1, Muslims are the most economically disadvantaged faith group in Britain. Point number 2, 50% of Britain's Muslim households are living in poverty. Point number 3, almost half of the Muslims in Britain live in Britain's most deprived areas. And you will know, for example, Tower Hamlets and other areas in London, but also Birmingham, etc., etc., etc. So there's a big need here in the UK. To move to the more sort of fiqhi aspects, one of the main points is that Zakat should be collected from the rich and distributed to the poor. Now, this is well known and is based on the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ that this is basically the first hadith in the book in the section on zakat in the collection of Sahih al-Bukhari, the collection of al-Bukhari, known as the Sahih of al-Bukhari. And in that hadith, the Prophet ﷺ sent Mu'adh to the Yemen, and he gave him some basic instructions. So he said to him, first call them to testimony that there is no God but Allah, and that I am the messenger of Allah, and if they accept that, then tell them that Allah has made it obligatory for them to pray 5 prayers every day and night, and if they accept that, then tell them that Allah has made it obligatory for them to pay Sadaqah on their wealth, in other words, to give a certain amount of their wealth to Allah. I don't like using the word charity for reasons that will become clear shortly, hopefully. But then the key phrase that comes after that thing, so Allah, tell them that Allah Ta'ala has made it obligatory for them to pay Sadaqah on their wealth, to pay a portion of their wealth, pay Zakat effectively. Should make there's a mini complication that in early Arabic they often used Sadaqah meaning Zakat, but now we differentiate between Zakat on the one hand as obligatory and Sadaqah as voluntary. We'll come to that in due course. But at the end of this set of instructions that Mu'adh was given, it says, تُؤْخَذُ مِنْ أَغْنِيَائِهِمْ وَتُرَدُّ عَلَى فُقَرَائِهِمْ. It is taken from their rich and given back to their poor. Now the first point I want to make is, who are the they who are being referred to? They're rich and they're poor. From one point of view you could say it's just the Muslims. So from the rich of the Muslims to the poor of the Muslims. Now that is, if you like, the basic underlying concept. But what is also clear, becomes clear from other sources, is that it means from the people in that area, the rich people in that area, to the poor people in that area. In other words, this is an indication of how it should be local. It should be administered in a local way. This local understanding is emphasized in the books of fiqh, and in particular I have in front of me a quotation from the Mudawwana of Imam Malik. Now I'm used to the Maliki sources, so I'm using Maliki sources, but I'm pretty much certain that with a little bit of research one would find the same with the Hanafis, one would find the same with the Shafi'is, one would find the same across the board, because it is a basic principle that you deal with what is closest to you first. And Imam Malik says in the Mudawwana, Zakat should be distributed among the people of the land where it is collected, and be distributed in the places where the people from whom it is taken live. In other words, there are the people of any one place, the Zakat collectors, as we'll come to in a minute, come to the place, they collect the Zakat, and they distribute it where it is collected. In other words, it should remain local where there is a need, and there is a need in the UK, as we have seen. Point number 3, Zakat is not charity. I said that in early Arabic they often used the word Sadaqah meaning Zakat, and now we use the word Sadaqah meaning voluntary Zakat, voluntary gifts of money. Charity, Sadaqah, in other words, your money, doing what you want with it, can be distributed how you like and to whoever you like, but Zakat has its own rules and restrictions. For example, Zakat should be distributed to Muslims only, not just locally as we've suggested, but should be only for Muslims. Now this means that certain agencies in the UK today, for example, are collecting it and distributing it to anybody. I mean, Oxfam, I've heard, for example, if you like, has opened its doors to collecting Zakat as a sort of service. But part of the understanding there is that they will distribute it how they think fit. Now that is not acceptable for us as Muslims, because we know that it should be distributed among Muslims only. The amounts also, like how much zakat should you pay, they are well known. It's effectively 2.5% for wealth that comes above the nisab for over a year. Now, the concept of the nisab means a basic amount of wealth that remains untouched effectively for a year. Once it's been with you for a year and it's above this certain minimum amount, then you should pay zakat on it, or zakat should be taken, in a sense, taken away from it. Now that 2.5% at the moment, I tried to check the figures the other day, 20 dinars of gold of 22 carat gold, etc., comes to approximately 3,500, could be a little bit more, not more than 4,000 as I understand, but it means you'd have to have at least that much money in your possession for at least a year without having touched it. If it goes down to 3/4 of that, you don't pay zakat. If it remains at that level and goes above it, and it's with you for at least a year, then that becomes zakatable. Then the clock has started ticking for you need to pay your zakat. The other basic point, which is to do with the actual meaning of the word, is that zakat is highly beneficial for all involved, highly beneficial because it is a purification of one's wealth. So you're not only purifying your own wealth, but whoever's involved in doing it is helping you to purify your wealth. So it's a sort of win-win situation that everybody is doing something that is beneficial for the sake of Allah Ta'ala. And if, for reasons which we'll also see in a minute, there's in a sense no loss. The word zakat means to make, or zakah, the verb, means to make a thing grow, or to make a thing thrive. Also to purify, as we've just said. And also to improve. So whether you're talking about growth or something thriving, or whether you're talking about purification or improvement, everything is positive, and that's what the word contains behind it. So that so there is nothing but increase. In the context of ordinary sadaqah, the Prophet ﷺ said, whoever gives away sadaqah from some good gains, some money that he's gained in a good way, in a correct way, and Allah only accepts what is good, it is as if he has put it in the hand of the Rahman, the hand of the Merciful, the hand of Allah, who then looks after it and brings it up, as one of you would look after or bring up his young horse or camel until it is a mountain. So that's increase, increase, increase. It grows with Allah. And what is true of sadaqah is even more true of the obligatory zakat, because as we know, there is nothing that Allah likes better than what He has made obligatory for people. Now I refer you to the well-known hadith in the 40 hadith of Imam an-Nawawi, very famous collection, very well-loved collection, an extremely useful collection. And one of the hadiths in that collection is to the effect of that Allah Ta'ala said, so it's a hadith Qudsi, مَنْ عَادَ لِي وَلِيًّا فَقَدْ آذَنْتُهُ بِالْحَرْبِ. Whoever shows enmity to a friend of mine, I have declared war on him. And then the hadith continues, وَمَا تَقَرَّبَ إِلَيَّ عَبْدِي بِشَيْءٍ أَحَبَّ إِلَيَّ مِمَّا افْتَرَضْتُهُ عَلَيْهِ. And my slave continues to come closer to me. My slave does not come closer to me with anything that I love more than what I have made obligatory for him. And then the hadith continues, وَمَا يَزَالُ عَبْدِي يَتَقَرَّبُ إِلَيَّ بِالنَّوَافِلِ حتى أحبه فإذا أحببته كنت سمعه الذي يسمع به وبصره الذي يبصر به ويده التي يبطش بها ورجله التي يمشي بها. And I'll mention the end of the hadith now. وَإِن سَأَلَنِي لَأُعْطِيَنَّهُ وَلَئِنِ اسْتَعَاذَنِي لَأُعِيذَنَّهُ. So the second part of the hadith is, after he said that the thing I like best is what I've made obligatory for people, he says, my slave continues to come closer to me with voluntary acts until I love him. And when I love him, I am his hearing with which he hears, his sight with which he sees, his hand with which he grasps, and his foot with which he walks. And if he were to ask me, I would give him. And if he were to seek refuge in me, I would give him refuge. So as I've said, in a sense, there's a start point which has nothing but good in it, because Allah Ta'ala loves it. And then one goes forward, 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 forward. Then you can have as much sadaqah as you want, but it's on that same basis. And Allah Ta'ala loves giving. Giving is one of the main qualities of the Prophet ﷺ. There are a couple of other points that should be noted about zakat. As we said, it is not charity. It is an obligation that Allah Ta'ala has imposed on us. For this reason, it should not be administered by the individual or individuals with the wealth. But as is noted in the Quran, it should be taken. So Allah Ta'ala says, خُذْ مِنْ أَمْوَالِهِمْ صَدَقَةً تُطَهِّرُهُمْ وَيُزَكِّيهِمْ. Let me just get that. خُذْ مِنْ أَمْوَالِهِمْ صَدَقَةً تُطَهِّرُهُمْ وَتُزَكِّيهِمْ بِهَا. Sorry, I missed that bit out. وَصَلِّ عَلَيْهِمْ إِنَّ صَلَوَاتِكَ سَكَنٌ لَهُمْ وَاللَّهُ سَمِيعٌ عَلِيمٌ. So Allah Ta'ala says, take zakat from their wealth to purify and cleanse them and pray for them till the end of the ayah. Now, yes, the ones who should do this are also indicated in the Quran, where Allah Ta'ala says zakat is for the poor, the destitute, those who collect it, reconciling people's hearts, freeing slaves, those in debt, spending in the way of Allah, and travelers. It's a legal obligation from Allah. Allah is all-knowing, wise. إنما الصدقات للفقراء والمساكين والعاملين عليها والمؤلفة قلوبهم وفي الرقاب والغارمين وفي سبيل الله وابن السبيل فريضة من الله والله عزيز حكيم والله عليم حكيم. So we have this question of those who collected العاملين عليها. That category, one of the 8 categories, is those who work to collect it, those who are appointed to collect it. In Old Arabic, the amil is the one that the governor has appointed to do a particular job, as you might say, a governmental job. And in this case, it's the question of collecting zakat. So that is mentioned in the Tanzil, in the Quran. So we have take zakat from their wealth as the first Quranic reference, a specific Quranic reference, and the word take there is in the singular, addressed initially to the Prophet ﷺ, and then by extension to anyone who takes the place of the Prophet ﷺ in terms of governance. So anyone who's in charge of a Muslim community afterwards is under that same obligation to take zakat from the rich of the Muslims and distribute it to the poor. Now, obviously one person doesn't do that by himself, so there are people who are appointed to carry out the task, namely al-amilina alayha, as it's referred to in this ayah. Now, the thing about this also is that because it is taken rather than given and collected by appointed collectors, in other words somebody other than yourself, it takes away that element of self or egoism, or nafs is the word in Arabic. It takes away that element of nafs in the situation. Now, the thing is that where money is concerned, nafs comes in. So if you give away a large amount of money, there's a tendency or there's a danger that you'll think, oh, I'm such a good Muslim, I gave away so many £100 last week, or every day I do this, or whatever it is, and you're in danger of thinking you've done something good yourself. This is an obligation from Allah, faridatan min Allah, faridatan, farida. It's an obligation from Allah that we should be carrying out as obedience, not as not as a self, well, to go over the top self-exaltation, or thinking that we're these good people who can do all these good things. So it takes away that from the act of giving, and it allows redistribution according to other concerns. In other words, not your own personal concerns, not where you think it should go, or where you would like it to go, and the people you would like it to benefit, which of course happens a lot nowadays, but rather where the local authorities, I'm using the word local in a sense deliberately, I don't mean the local British authorities, but where the local Muslims know it's where it is best distributed. We've just mentioned the 8 categories of people who are entitled to receive zakat, but who should it be at any one time or in any one year? Now, this is in a sense is the point behind this redistribution issue, that as an individual you won't know where the people are most in need, because you don't know everybody in the community. But there are some people who do know the poor people in the community, and it is these people who should be tasked to do this job. So just as is traditionally it's the task of the governor to decide in any one year, I'm assuming year by the way, because if you've had the amount for a year then you have to pay it after a year, and a lot of people nowadays they make a certain time in the year, the time when they'll pay their zakat. But technically speaking, it should be whenever your money has been with you, when that minimum amount, the nisab, has been with you for a year, then the clock is ticking and you should move it on or get it taken from you as soon as possible. Traditionally, it's the task of the governor to decide in any one year which of these 8 categories should receive the zakat, because they, or their representatives, the people they've set this task to, or they've given this task to, they will know who is in most need and most deserving of receiving this wealth. We don't have Muslim governors because we don't live in a Muslim country. So we have to have another way of doing it, and the traditional way is if you're in a place where there is no Muslim governance, and this happened, for example, in Sicily in the old days when it was conquered, that they used the local, you could say the notables, they used the local people of knowledge and the community leaders, and those people would be the one who would be entrusted with this task. And so those are the ones who must take the place of the non-existent Muslim governor in our particular situation. And again, local is best. Your local people of knowledge, your local community leaders. Now, Alhamdulillah, this is where our local knowledge and connections come in. For many years now, one could even say perhaps one or more generations, the Muslim community in the UK has been setting up mosques, has been setting up madrasas, has been setting up centres, shops of course, and schools, and all sorts of things. Among all the people using these places in every community, there will be those who are known to be trustworthy and who know their local community. You know your imam, you know your teachers, you know the trustworthy shopkeeper around the corner, etc. You know these people, and you also will have some idea of who are in need, but especially the leaders will have a much better understanding, because they'll be the people that people go to if they have a particular need, if they have a particular problem or a particular worry. So they'll go to, for example, the Imam and say, Imam Sahib, I have this problem, can you help, etc. So there are people locally in every locality, in every Muslim community, who A, are trustworthy, and other people can trust them to distribute the money, and B, have knowledge of the community, detailed knowledge. And so these people are the ones who should be entrusted to collect and distribute people's zakat, and this, as we have pointed out, should be locally and not internationally. As I've said before, I've indicated, anyone can send their own money to wherever they like as a gift of Sadaqah. Then you can send it to your relatives, your friends, the poor people in your village back home, or if there isn't back home, wherever that is. That is possible if it's your own money, but zakat is an obligation from Allah and should be considered in a different light. Zakat is Allah's right and should be distributed where it has always been traditional to do so, in the local community, as we said right at the beginning. Now, in terms of our local UK situation, I'm aware that there are a number of institutions that exist to collect and redistribute people's zakat, but to the best of my knowledge, we're not international, they are at best national, and we need to encourage local. Now, there are people who will say, yes, this is a British zakat initiative, for example, or something along those lines, or we will take your money and we'll distribute it amongst the poor around the world, etc. There are people doing this. I don't want to mention specific names, but you'll know the kind of institution, organisation that I'm talking about. But as I've said, mostly, as far as I understand, they are, if not international, some of them are. They'll send them off to Pakistan or Bangladesh or Somalia or anywhere where they consider there's a need, and there may be a genuine need. I'm not denying that there's a need, but we're talking about zakat and the preferable way of doing it, the best way of doing it. So to the best of my knowledge, we're not international, they are national, and we need to encourage local for the reasons I mentioned already. May I also take the opportunity to mention the local zakat initiative. This is a new initiative that's been set up by people I know and trust very well to achieve precisely this goal. And I understand that there is a website that is, well, it's in the making. If it's not actually available immediately, it will be available very, very soon, and you will find it under the name Local Zakat Initiative. And I would strongly encourage you to have a look at that website. You will find other information there, and you'll find other information about this local distribution. I think it was in the time of Omar ibn Abdul Aziz that some people collected zakat in Rai, which is a place in present-day Iran, more or less Tehran nowadays, and had gone with it to Kufa, I think it was. And then the governor in Kufa said, "What is this? This is from Rai. It should stay in the Rai. It shouldn't come to Kufa. It should have nothing to do with us." And the Caliph Omar ibn Abdul Aziz sent it back. He said, "Tell them to take it back to where it came from and distribute it there." And there's other instances. I do not have all the texts and the references at my disposal right now, but that website has a lot more and has a lot of possibilities, and I would like to encourage everyone to think in terms of their zakat being collected and distributed locally, and the people who are running that website will be able to help and will be more than happy to talk to community leaders, etc., to explain more about the situation, because it's not about us doing it rather than someone else. It's about empowering local people to carry out this task locally because of the local need. وفي القدر كفاية. Alhamdulillah, wa shukrillah, wa salatu wa salam ala rasulillah. May Allah help us to bring about a correct implementation of zakat, which He is pleased with, and which also means that everyone else gets benefit from, those who receive it, those who are doing it because it's an act for the sake of Allah, and with nothing but increase for all concerned, and for the Muslims and for the state of the Muslims in this country, and to raise up their economic status without having to rely on other people, and, as I have said at the beginning, for it to be general benefit for all concerned. Alhamdulillah, wa shukrillah, wa salatu wa salam ala rasulillah. Thank you very much.